What's up, guys? Here's part two of things to consider when working on the CSU. Um, the next thing I have on the list is just be yourself. You don't have to be anybody other than yourself. You're in this job for a reason. There's things that you can bring to the table, skills, attributes that makes you work really well with people, and especially kids, and hopefully kids from different cultures and traditions and backgrounds. So just be yourself and use the good things about yourself. So if you're a person who is very outgoing, be that outgoing person on the unit, and maybe it helps one of the shyer clients come out of their shell, or use it to your advantage. Right? In talking with kids, if you're really good at hockey and you notice a kid is wearing a hockey hat, maybe that's something that you connect on with that kid. Um, really reading through their files and getting to know them as a person. So there's always strengths and values written in mental health assessments or biopsychosocial assessments. So look towards those and find the strengths and pick out. You can just watch a person for a couple minutes and pick out good things about them. You can see that a kid is more shy, or sometimes takes longer for them to trust people because of what they've been through. Um, and maybe that's where you build a relationship with them because you've been through some lived experiences that you can relate to them with on some level without getting too personal, right? But yeah, being yourself. You don't need to be put on a show and act all extravagant and go the extra mile. You can just be yourself, and a kid will see that. Like if you're not your authentic self, they're gonna know, and they're gonna call you out on it most times, 9 times out of 10, right? So just be yourself, and they're gonna know that you're here for the right reasons if you're acting that way, you know. Um, Next on the list, we just talk about self care a lot. So you're gonna hear some of the worst stuff that you've ever heard in your life from a lot of these kids, especially if they're ready to talk. And it's gonna break your heart. And you're gonna be hearing things that you never thought you probably want to hear in your life, or know that kids have to go through. And a lot of our kids in the north do go through significant trauma, complex trauma, assault, abuse of all kinds. And they're going to be eventually comfortable in talking to you about some of this stuff. So it's important that you take care of yourself first so that you're able to help these kids and families that come in. Make sure that in your off time you're doing really good things for your body and for your mind and for your spirit, so that when you come to work, you have really good balance here too, and you're able to really support a lot of these kids and what they're going through. Yeah, this light's not very great. I'm going to keep going anyways and rip through this. Um, Creating an alliance with these kids, relationship, building rapport. I kind of talked about it in the first part, but um, that's so crucial. You have 7 days max, sometimes a little bit more, but right from the start, understanding who this person is and where they come from. Right? Like, you have this beige file in front of you, but they're not just a file, right? There's a whole person in there, a really awesome person most times that comes through here and is just having a really difficult time with things going on in their life. And most of the kids that we do see from these northern communities or from Thompson or just this region in general have gone through more things than any human being should ever go through in their life, right? So if you can and build a relationship with these young people, that's an extra support in their back pocket. And they know you're here next time, and that if they need you again, you're a phone call away, or you're a plane ride away, or you're a telehealth assessment away, right? So get to know them and meaningful relationship. So be real with them. Be yourself. You can always find commonalities between people, no matter how different you are, and so encourage that. Get that out of them, right? Like, once they know a little bit about you and they know that they can connect with you on some sort of level, whether it's sports or art or culture or conversation or cooking or baking, whatever it might be, right? Everybody's got something that they do to pass the time or to cope, and that's something that you can really build rapport on. I know one thing that I try to avoid all the time while on the unit is avoiding threats or threatening language. Um, it's not going to get you anywhere. One, it's most likely going to escalate a situation that really didn't need to be escalated in the start. So saying things like, if you don't listen to me, you can't go out on leave pass, is not a threat that you can make to a kid. Or if you don't do what you're told on the unit, we'll make you stay longer. No, we won't. That's not what we do. We're not here to be a jail or a place of punishment. This CSU is meant to be a place where um, it's inclusive, where a kid should want to come and stay, where they're welcomed, where they're cared for, and where maybe their outside environment um, can be not really thought about for a couple of days. Will they get help and they're safe and stable, and they can come up with a really good plan to go home. So avoid threatening language. They don't need to hear that. A lot of our kids probably experience a lot of threatening language to begin with too, and has it helped them up to this point? No. So let's avoid that at all costs. We're not here to incite kids to increase their risk for violence or suicide. We're here to stabilize what they're going through and help them through a really difficult time in their lives. So, yeah, avoiding the threats is pretty key. This is one thing that I always am constantly changing and working on is language. So, that has to do with practice and change. So, if I'm ever working with a kid who identifies as transgender or other, I always tell them right off the bat, if I use the wrong pronouns or the wrong language, please correct me and call me out on it. That's something that I'm still working on learning and practicing. And we do have quite a few young people who identify as transgender or other that come through our buildings. And so it does take practice to change things, right? And so if you're more upfront with the kids that you work with, they're more likely to call you out but in a good way, right? Not in a threatening way or like they're offended by what you're saying. Just be upfront with them from the start. And there's always language that you can avoid using too regarding suicide or how somebody identifies, or just less harmful language where a kid might take it a certain way that it's not meant. And honestly, we are, like right now, the year is 2020, January, so it's a new age for language, right? And mental health. It's time that we change the way we talk about people and the way we word things, and everybody's different and unique, so we need to change our language to reflect that. The next thing that I have on my list is one thing that one of my favorite things is advocacy. So anytime that I feel like a kid on the unit isn't getting what they need in terms of their basic needs, or maybe not the skills or the people surrounding them in their lives that they need to succeed, really good people, that's where I step up, I think. And that's one of my really good skills and traits, is stepping up for kids that may not have that person that to step up for them, whether it's in their community or at school or in their family. And so I would urge you to be that advocate for kids on the unit, especially when they don't really know what they need, but know that they need something, and or when some of their needs aren't being met, being that person that stands up and says, "Hey, this isn't okay." Keeping in mind, not acting just immediately, taking a step back and thinking about it and being more proactive instead of reactive in those moments, because sometimes when you see how much a kid is going through, you just want to react and go, nope, they need this, 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 and this, instead of considering all the possibilities and maybe reading more on their file in terms of what else is going on and what can be explained and what can't be explained, and then going from there. So take your time with that advocacy, but be strong in it, especially if a young person needs it or a family really needs support and they're not getting what they need to help their children have their basic needs met. Be that person to step up on that unit and say, no, yeah, I'll be an advocate for you, and here's the role that I can play. I kind of touched on this in part one, but it says caring is not a competition. So again, you don't get a bigger award for looking like you care more than another employee, right? Like, caring is just part of your job description. You care about these kids, and let them know vocally that you care about them. Maybe not with words like "I love you" or stuff like that, and that's not necessarily appropriate almost at any time, but letting them know, tell them directly, like I really care about you. I care about your life. I care about your future. Those are things that are real, right? And that you can tell them, and you are being super authentic about it. So don't be afraid to verbalize that you care about them. Um, but then again, you're not going up against anybody for most caring. Like there's no award for that. Just be caring, and that'll reflect and rub off on other employees and seeing you go down that path of telling kids you care, and go from there. Part 3 coming up.